episode number 3 with the Adventures of Nash. This is Aaron.
Yeah, and I am Nash. Welcome back. So Aaron's back now. Ben is resuming his normal roles as audio man. He's here with us, and then so our producer director we've nicknamed the Man. So he's the man from last episode. But yeah, so before we started recording, we were talking about last week's episode of our as yet untitled show. Well, maybe we could brainstorm some names today. But
Adventures of Nash. Adventures of Nash is the working title.
Yeah. If that's the working title, all right. Well, we can. So actually, we'll get back to my TV show, but we could borrow the name from my TV show that's not a show yet, and then that way.
TV show.
I do. We talked. I'll bring you up to speed on it. But yeah, so last week's episode we were talking about the man listening to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I enjoyed the most about his commentary was his wife left for work, and he started to listen to it, to review it, or maybe she had just come back from work. She had just come back from work, and he had been reviewing it. And she'd been working all day, and she was tired and grumpy, and she just wanted to, watch TV and go to bed or whatever. And she was yelling at him to stop working, and he was like, "Oh, don't worry, they're signing off now, so they'll be done in a second." The joke being is that after we started to sign off, we talked for like another hour and a half or something like that. Just talked about all kinds of stuff. It was hilarious. So yeah, he wound up getting yelled at because he listened to the whole thing until it was finally over, and I laughed so hard when he told me that. Just him getting in trouble at his
because it went long.
Yeah, because of us. Hilarious.
So since I haven't listened to the last episode, what stuff? Just kind of bring me up to speed.
Right. Well, we talked about nonsense for a while, which is pretty much everything we always talk about. We talked about how there's we remembered to plug my blog, Nash-Style.com, which is still my blog. We can plug that right now, which I just did. So
I brought that. Had my notes here.
Excellent. Yes. Yeah. We talked about the reasons why I didn't have sex with those sexy children.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we talked about Nash-Style.com has a hyphen in it, because Nash-Style.com is already taken by some fashion blog. And that's what I said, huh? And I don't really care if people looking for me find him. But
is it like Nashville style?
It's unrelated to everything you would think of.
It's just some other person
It's
named
just
Nash.
some other guy called Nash who is a fashion aficionado, apparently.
Fashion, more like fascist.
That's right. And yeah, so we were like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if people looking for him found me? And then Ben suggested, wouldn't it be great if we did a collaboration and launched a clothing line? Like, what would a Nash-style clothing line be like? So we figured it would probably be like comically deep V-necks, just all the way to the bottom.
Navel.
Yeah, all the way to the bottom, just a thin string holding them together. And it would either be that or just like burlap potato sacks. Like, those are just the worst of everything. So yeah, we joked about that for a while, and then we kind of rattled around some ideas for this TV show. So basically, I think the first episode, which probably no one will hear, so we can repeat things forever, over and over again. Who cares? No one's listening to this yet because none of these have been posted yet, to the best of my knowledge. But
so it's pre-production.
It's early days. Yeah, whatever.
We're gonna get a few in the can, and then
put them all out. Yeah.
Once we kind of get all the kinks ironed out, then we can start kind of regularly releasing stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Although everything we touch is gold, so I want to release everything we've recorded. But
absolutely.
The last time that you and I spoke, I told you about that guy who had cancer a couple of times and got his lung cut out. Do you remember that guy? Do you remember me telling you about that? And then he climbed the highest mountain on every continent and went to the North and South Pole, which is called the Explorer's Grand Slam.
Mm-hmm.
And then, did I tell you about this? I read about a guy who did that same thing like a week later, and he then kayaked 277 miles of the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon. Did I tell you about that guy?
No.
And he's blind!
Wow.
Is the exclamation point on the end of it all. And I was just like, holy holy moly.
So you're like, well, if they can do it, then I could surely do it.
Right? I mean, this guy climbed Everest blind, which means he can't see the thumbs up from his Sherpa to let him know everything's all right. So all he knows is that there's no more air to breathe.
It's like, it's getting harder to breathe. It must be getting higher.
Yeah, and all he can hear is like the sound of bodies hitting the ground as people are dying from the altitude. And then, and then I told this to somebody else, and they were like, oh, well, he probably went tandem with someone on that kayak, so... Like, who cares? Those are like Class 5 rapids. What do you... Yeah,
still.
that means you can't get visual confirmation that there's not a huge rock about to take your head off.
Yeah.
That means at every moment you're wondering, like, is this when the huge rock is going to take my head off? So I thought that was pretty impressive. So I was like, well, if these incredible assholes can do it, I mean, I'm an incredible asshole. I could do it too. So I decided...
I can see and have both lungs. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's why people keep dying on Everest, is they've got too many pieces weighing them down.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know what I would need to lose or whatever. Maybe I'm missing the vital good idea component, like the brain filter that keeps people from doing stuff like this. So that'll be what's not weighing me down, so I'll be able to succeed.
Like, I was actually reading about climbing Mount Everest.
Yeah.
And from what I said, there's a few different routes.
Yes, every mountain has several routes up.
And from what I understand is that a lot of climbers climb Everest just because it's the most well-known peak.
Right.
It's the tallest, but not necessarily the hardest.
That is true. Yeah, that is true.
They said that now there's basically a roped-out path that you can essentially take with, like, a guide.
Pretty much, yeah.
But there are still...
it's still extremely dangerous.
Yes, it's still very dangerous, mostly because of, like, the weather and, like, altitude.
Yeah, the altitude kills a lot of people by itself. And there are a few places where, I mean, you still have to cross chasms and actually climb and all that. But here's the thing that's going to slow me down the most, besides the dying, is the permits to climb Everest are $30,000.
Yep,
and
that's
then
the other thing.
And then you still need your team and your oxygen tanks and
all
your
equipment
and everything else. And I'm going to need a camera crew or a tough GoPro, something, a really durable selfie stick that I can mount to my crotch. Maybe use my crotch as the selfie stick. I don't know if there's going to be enough oxygen to sustain an erection for however long, for the month that it takes. Everyone's going to be like, why do we get a lot of footage of the ground? It's just a swinging camera on the ground.
It's like, well, let me tell you some of the symptoms of oxygen deprivation.
That's right, yeah. Can't be sparing oxygen for an erection, because I would literally pass out because it wouldn't be going to my brain. It's not because of my huge wiener, which is not...
That compounds things, but...
Yeah, it's definitely not that. It's... but yeah, so I was looking at that, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this for sure. And then I remembered that there were a couple people trying to get me a TV show that worked at a couple different networks, but one guy in particular was a bit high up, and he works for the biggest TV network in Japan, but he also lives in LA importing shows and then making original shows, and his whole thing is reality TV. And he interviewed me 2 years ago, and he was like, man, you're crazy.
So is that NHK?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was like, you're crazy. I think I can make a reality TV show out of you. You want a show? And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, I don't know what it would be about, but you're insane, so people would watch it.
Well, in Japan already has like insane reality shows.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be for the States originally, and then they would like import it back to Japan. I think it would be a U.S. produced, U.S. focused show, which would then garner a bigger market in Japan because they like their imports.
They like their imported.
They love their
imported media.
Yeah, they love their imported media. But yeah, so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna like write a treatment and send it to this guy, because this could be the angle. Is following me climbing the.
So is it going to be kind of like a travel log kind of show?
Yeah, I guess so. But so the main attraction, the goal would be the 7 highest peaks on the 7 continents plus the North and South Pole. But really, it would be the adventures between the mountains, like treasure hunting along the way and stopping and doing like ridiculous things. So we were kind of Ben was kind of interjecting in there, and I was like, so that's what I sent him, and I'm waiting to hear back because at the very least that's something for a reality show. So that's better than what we had, which was just me with a question mark next to my name. Because the producers or whoever, I guess they wouldn't even be producers; they would just be network people were reading my blog, and I guess they really liked it, but they would still have to craft something entertaining to watch. And so I was like, yeah, here's the show. And Ben was like, ooh, wouldn't it be great if they paired you up with somebody who absolutely did not want to do any of those things.
So like, so kind of like an Idiot Abroad.
Exactly, but I would
love
like
that show.
Yeah, I also love that show. Imagine if Ricky Gervais had been with Carl Pilkington the entire time, and instead of making him do things over the phone, he was making him do things in person, and also doing them with him, but having a blast. It would be kind of like that, and so we bantered back and forth, and then I suggested, oh, wouldn't it be good if in every new area we got a new person that didn't want to do it, because after so much time on the road together, those people would get wise to my shenanigans. So you don't want to do that. So we kind of, and then our producer director, whatever his title is, the man, he shot me back and he's like, hey, I really like the idea, but I got some notes for you, if you want some notes. And I was like, well,
that's what you're holding.
That's what I'm holding here. This is a literal scrap of paper. It's not even a piece of bits. Can you describe what you're looking at here?
It's kind of like almost like a pie wedge, except the point is kind of stunted. It's pretty raggedy.
It definitely looks like
it was crumpled up in his pocket, like not in a ball, but not really carefully folded.
It definitely looks like I ripped this off of a papyrus scroll or something. Like
it looks ancient.
Yeah, it's so much a scrap of paper. But yeah, so, and then we were talking, he had some notes, and he was just like, yeah, wouldn't it be funnier if instead of intentionally getting a new person every mountain or whatever, wouldn't it be funnier if your just ridiculous shenanigans force these people to quit? And so all the time, the intro to the show, you know how they have the travel intros where it's like the guys and they're back to back or whatever, every time someone quit, you just put an X over their face and then put a new person right next to them, and so you just get this pile of bodies of people who've quit. And then you do, every time they storm off, you do a little montage of all the horrible things I've had them do that I've loved. It's just whoa, why would you want to quit? We've had such a blast together. And then there's a comedic montage of them having the worst time and me just loving their misery. And I thought that was a pretty funny idea. So the plan would be to, obviously we know they're gonna quit, but we wouldn't announce that we're getting a new person. It would just look like they're spontaneously
and if someone
quitting.
Surprises you and actually sticks around for a second round,
then more power to him. But yeah, and he was like, yeah, God love you, I love you and I love the stuff you do, but man, I couldn't be around you for more than 2 weeks at a time. And I was like, no offense taken. And he was like, yeah, no, I'm just I couldn't hang, I can't be sleeping in the mud, climbing mountains for 2 weeks, and then running from people and running to other people, and it's just it's a bit much. I know myself, and I couldn't put up with that for more than 2 weeks, and I can't imagine most anybody would either.
I would definitely be in that boat.
Yeah, and it's just I love people's company, but I totally get that a little Nash goes a long way, and a lot of people don't realize that fact because they only see me on a normal human sort of societal interaction level, and where you get breaks and things, you can go to your own area of the planet and take a break. But when you're traveling together, you don't get that break. It's all the time. And so people come at me and they're like, hey, we should go traveling together. Let's have an adventure together. You have all these amazing adventures. I want an amazing adventure. Let me go with you. And then we do, and every single time, by the end, they're like, I cannot wait to escape you. I will see you in a few years once I've blocked most of this out of my mind. And yeah, that's understandable. What else did he say? Oh yeah, he was talking about how, he was like, yeah, people climbing mountains is really boring. And I was like, okay, I kind of see where you're going. And he's like, yeah, but hear me out, climbing mountains is mostly just miserable once you get into the real meat of the climb, and you can't really talk. It's all just grunts and stuff. And I was like, yeah, that is true.
Making sure that you're,
not
your secondary pins are secure and everything.
Yeah, yeah. And I was
slowly ascend a little bit. All right.
Yeah, there's a lot of
here. So
there's
I can understand.
Yeah, if you're on belay, even if you're not on belay, it's just you're bouldering up and you're just and maybe a couple minute montage of that would be interesting, but you definitely
to watch it real time. You're just kind of all right.
I feel like he's right. That would alienate almost everyone who would want to watch a TV show. You'd have a very small demographic who wanted to watch me scramble up something in real time, and so his idea was, what if the show was just my shenanigans to and from the mountains, the in-between points, and then like the season finale. So, for example, the highest mountain in North America is Denali in Alaska. And side note, we talked about this last week. I looked into climbing Denali. Apparently, the average climb time is between 2 and 4 weeks. What are you doing on a mountain for 4 weeks? Like, entire regimes are created and destroyed in less time than that. That's long enough that you need your mail forwarded to the side of the mountain. What are you doing? It's not even like the third highest mountain. It might be the third highest, I don't know. But it's not the second highest mountain in the world, which is in South America. But my point here is, Denali is in Alaska. And beginning in Alaska is the world's longest continuous road, the Pan American Highway, that runs from Alaska through the Yukon, down into the States, through Mexico, through Central America, down into South America, and all the way through South America. So, and then the second highest mountain in the world is in South America, in the Patagonia mountain range, I believe. And so, you know, I've always wanted to sort of make a big to-do out of driving the world's longest road. It's like 12,000 miles and goes through 16 countries or something like that.
Wow.
And yeah, it's the longest continuous road. It goes over the Panama Canal, which makes it a continuous road. But yeah, so, you know, make that a big to-do and just stop at every interesting thing and like pick up hitchhikers and just do shenanigans all the way there. And he was like, yeah, that's the show, man, that's the show. And then the season finale is you get to the mountain and then you go to climb up, because no one wants to climb a mountain with you. And no camera crew wants to scramble behind you filming you. And I was like, yeah, that's true. And he's like, and then the start of season 2 would be either you coming down from the mountain and telling your story, or you're dead.
You start with, you're like, all right, well, I climbed it. So
yeah.
now
Moving on. Yeah.
So now we're on our way to blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's for now all season 2 is just then traveling to
the next one. Yeah, and probably that first episode would be me regaling them with my tale of daring do, because probably there would be like a Yeti on the mountain.
Oh yeah.
Because there's always something unbelievable that happens to me that no one believes.
Survived an avalanche.
Yeah, probably 2 avalanches, and then I surfed down on a Yeti's body that mysteriously vanished when I got to the bottom. And then I will have taken like a blurry picture with the Yeti, and there'll be 50% of people will be like, "Oh, that's irrefutable proof," and the other 50% will be like, "This is nothing. This is pixels. This is
it's your thumb."
Yeah, this is nothing. This is a bunch of snow, maybe. But yeah, so I mean that's typical Nash story where an unbelievable thing happens, and it would fit into sort of my life, the way that everything does, and that. Of course, I would have a full TV show where I'm documented all the time, and then, like, the 2 days I go to climb this mountain, a Yeti shows up, or whatever. I find gold, and then Hawk swoops down and takes it away. Like, you guys are never going to believe me. Literally, you'll never believe me. But here's what happened. Nobody was there to film it. But anyway, moving on. But yeah, so that was, I thought that was a pretty good idea of the man's. And then also, he was talking about how one of the probably the biggest pillars of my personality that we haven't really talked much about would be my training in martial arts all the time. And he was like, yeah, you should stop at really weird martial arts schools and challenge them to sparring matches and stuff. Like, people love to see that, you know? He was like, it could be a full-on fight, or it could just be like a good sparring match. And he's like, yeah, you know, you could stop at a few easy places first and kind of build your prestige.
Ramp
and then,
your way up
he's like, no one wants to watch a show where a guy keeps getting the shit kicked out of him. It's just like, man. And I was like, yeah, you know, that would be pretty hilarious, because, you know, we'd be also doing these other adventures on the way to and from these martial arts areas, and, you know, these people just be like, man, this guy just got bit by 2 snakes, and then he had a fight the next day, and he lost, of course. What an idiot. He keeps losing because he keeps doing these things. Like, yeah, I definitely don't have the this is a bad idea filter. For example, one time, I stormed a professional arm wrestling tournament. They had like an open. It was all professional arm wrestlers, and it was the tournament before they went on ESPN. So it was like the warm up tournament or whatever that was happening a couple weeks before that. And there were just the biggest dudes with surgery scars all up and down their arms because their bones had literally been their bones had snapped and like come out of their arm, like just crazy stuff. Or they'd been dislocated so bad that they had to have surgery and like get bars and stuff to replace things. It's just like, oh man, so I was just like, yeah, I'm going in, I'm doing it, I'm going to steal their secrets. And so I went in and I stormed this professional arm wrestling tournament. to learn the secret of the arm wrestlers, to steal their ancient techniques. And I wound up arm wrestling 44 times that night. Wow. It's either 40 or 44, yeah. And I won 4 of those. But in the madness...
Well, there is definitely...
There is technique.
There is definitely
absolutely technique, yeah. And I didn't know.
It's not just mash.
Yeah,
like, I mean, there was a YouTube clip that was around of I always forget the guy's name, but the guy who plays the Mountain on Game of Thrones is absolutely massive. Dude.
Yeah, which I've never seen. I've never seen Game of Thrones, but I have seen that guy.
Yeah, he's like one of the biggest people I've ever seen, and he's not like fat. He's just like
you could have just stopped that sentence. He's just one of the biggest people that anyone's ever seen.
But yeah, so like he's arm wrestling a like world champion arm wrestler who's like a third his size.
Yeah.
And he holds his own for a while, but he gets beat.
Yeah. There's a lot of technique to it, and I was going in.
And the other guy's not even breaking a sweat.
Right? Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna just wait till.
Yeah, that's basically just like
wait till this mountain
like,
gets tired.
So I'll wait here until like he gets tired, and then I just go in and win.
Yeah, and then he did. But yeah, I went in there and I was like, Nash is here to steal all your secrets, and yeah, it just. Went in like round 1, boom, lost immediately. And I was like, well, that did not go. I was just disqualified straight out of the gate. So then I entered the other hand division. So I was arm wrestling with both arms because I'm ambidextrous. So it was like, I will get something out of this. So then I was eliminated from the official tournament because I lost. So it was like single or double elimination, and I was just losing heaps. But I just kept challenging them to rematches, like off the record. And they were like, yeah, sure. You're an idiot. We'll give you a go. And eventually, I just kept going, and I like won their respect over the course of the night. They started buying me.
Just the sheer perseverance.
Yeah. It's just like ah. And yeah. So that night, I got my wrist dislocated and my elbow strained on both arms because I was going both arms. I was like my left elbow. I couldn't move anymore, and my right wrist was dislocated, and the elbow was messed up. And I was just like, ugh! But I just kept going, and then they were like, man, this guy's serious. So then they actually started coaching me and, like, giving me, like, tidbits of information. And then they were buying me drinks. They're like, this guy's amazing! Even though he sucks balls. Like, he's like a phoenix. You just kill him, and he springs right back up. And I was like, yeah! And then I did wind up beating 4 guys out of the 40 or 44 that I had. 2 of those guys were much smaller than me. And I barely won. And the other 2 were about my same size. But, yeah. But the moral of that story is, that lasted until about 3 in the morning. And then I had to get up at 7 in the morning because I was fighting in a karate tournament that day. And I did not win. Because I couldn't use either one of my arms. I could not use either one of my arms, yeah. I didn't get knocked out or anything, but I mean, I was thoroughly... outclassed that day, and that was back when I was a weir lad, a much younger individual. This was 12 years ago, I think, maybe. And so at the time, I still had an actual martial arts teacher that was in charge of me not doing stupid stuff, and he was furious that I would have gone to this thing.
Before, and he's like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, like, yeah, I didn't win. He's like, no shit, you didn't win. Like, ugh. But yeah, so I'm definitely the type of person that would get bit by a couple snakes and then beat up, and then keep challenging, and then just keep challenging. I fell off the second highest mountain in the world. I'm on my way to go challenge this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school. I'm off to go fight a Gracie, even though I've got a couple broken bones already. It's fine. Everything's fine. So yeah, he suggested maybe we touch on that, and I agreed. Maybe not make that the crux of the show, but just sprinkle that in every once in a while. And he was like, oh, you like to treasure hunt and do martial arts? And I was like, yeah, I do both of those things on the way to the mountains. So we'd go treasure hunting, and then, or maybe the treasure is some ancient martial arts master. Definitely done that before. Went to Malaysia to track down. Did I tell you about that? I went to Malaysia to track down the only man in the world who can do the one finger Zen technique, and that would be the technique where you can do a handstand on one finger on one hand, but then you can take that one finger and the combat application. Well, he's got a breaking demonstration that he does. So anyone can break a coconut, right? Like anyone can chop a coconut open. It's not going to say it's a trick, but there's a technique to it. Like a 6-year-old girl could chop a coconut open if you told her how, with her hands. And I chop coconuts open all the time with the brown husk. No big deal. But this guy will take a coconut with the brown husk, and then with the green husk on top of that, that's a couple inches thick, and then he will take that finger and ram it all the way through to the center of the coconut. And the brown husk coconut is supposed to have the same PSI to break as a human skull. So the green would be like
even more.
even more. So in theory, this guy could take his index finger and ram it through any part of your skull without your permission.
So he literally has like the death touch.
He does, and then some. So I was like, well, I'm gonna go steal this guy's technique, and then when he dies, I'll be the only one who can do the one finger Zen technique. Because right now I can do handstand push-ups on one finger with both hands, but I have to use my thumb for balance and everything. So if I use one finger and a thumb on each hand, I can crank out like 10 of those handstand fingertip push-ups, which was also on my my interview that the guy that was trying to get me the show, he filmed me. He got me real drunk and filmed me doing those. But yeah, so
I mean that enough to me is fucking impressive,
right? You would think so. I mean, there's other people.
I've seen video of people doing it.
Yeah.
Usually like Shaolin monks and stuff.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah. Well, I did go to the Shaolin temple to steal their secrets.
But still,
too.
it's like it's something that like the vast majority of people in the world cannot do.
That is true. Although I'm starting to realize that the vast majority of people in the world can't do much in regards to anything. I mean,
that's true.
You know, whether it be play a musical instrument or understand basic mathematical concepts or you know, throw a dragon punch or whatever, you know.
I mean
there's
the majority of people are very mediocre. That's
they are.
How majorities work.
That is true. Yeah, by definition, the average person is quite average. But yeah, so anyway, long story short, this could be a much more interesting story if we fleshed it out later, if you guys remind me, or a different episode.
So, well, and before you get too carried away, like one thing I don't know if you went over in the second episode, but
oh, is this the Mount Fuji story, the murder woods?
Yes.
I intentionally avoided it so that you would be here.
I wanted to hear.
Yes, so that you would be here. In fact, yes, that'll be the major story for today. So cliffhanger for some other day. I went to Malaysia to track down this ancient kung fu master who's the only man alive who can do the one finger Zen technique. And I wound up in the pirate capital of the world, which is Malacca, Malaysia, which I didn't realize at the time. And
fun stuff happened.
Yeah. Things happen like they always do. Let me make sure that there's no other notes on here. What else did I do? Oh yeah, just quick notes about other times that I did bad martial arts challenges. Yeah, so I was talking about, you know, the arm wrestling competition storm and then going to the karate tournament. One time when I was still living in Japan full time for the couple of years that I was there. So for those listening, I lived in Japan for a couple of years consecutively, and then I moved away, and then I've just been living there during the summer times ever since for the past 10 years. But at one point in time, there was this little thing called the global economic collapse of 2008, and I lost all my money. And so I had to move out of my apartment to get the deposit back so I would have enough money to eat. So I was actually homeless in Tokyo for a while, and I lost a ton of weight. And I was still, like, going to school and training and fighting all the time, but I was just, like, not living well at all. And I entered this Kyokushin tournament, which is basically bare-knuckle Muay Thai, bare-knuckle kickboxing tournament, where you fight a bunch of dudes all day, just bare-knuckle, no pads, no gloves, nothing. You get a mouthpiece and you get a cup, but other than that, right out of the gate, I fought this Brazilian guy, and in the first 10 seconds of the first fight, he kicked me in the knee and dislocated my knee. Like, kicked it right out of socket. And I jammed it back in, and I was feeling all right. And then I fought him, and then I beat him, and then I fought everybody else all day, and I beat them. And then I made it to the very final match, but my leg had swollen up so much. I think I told you the story in the first episode. Yeah,
you said that was one of the first times you actually, like, considered going to the
doctor.
doctor.
Considered going... Well, it wasn't then that I considered going to the doctor. It was the next week when I did a 20-man fight, and the 11th person dislocated my knee. Again, a week later. So that was another example. Yeah, and then I talk about hunting martial arts masters. I went to Okinawa. Been to Okinawa a few times, but I went there to do a pilgrimage and hunt down all the top ancient karate masters in the world.
So Okinawa is where it originated.
Right. Yeah. So the original karate came from Okinawa, and it was a mix of the indigenous tea fighting style and
also bringing some Chinese.
Yeah, because it's basically closer to China than it is to Japan, with their culture and sort of lifestyle. It's owned by Japan, but it's culturally and linguistically not Japanese. But now they also speak Japanese there. But yeah, so I went there to hunt down these ancient martial arts masters, and stuff happened. It was great. But anyway, so that'll all be stories for other times. I just wanted to burn through these notes here. All right, so I think that kills off my scrap of paper. Yes, all right, so we're done with this. So anyway, anything else you want to talk about before we get into this Mount Fuji Murderwood story?
Well, if it's quick, because I know one of the unresolved things from last time I spoke with you was why you didn't bang.
Oh, okay, yeah, we did touch on that. I'll just review that real fast for our
you said that
our lovely listeners.
That while in Japan, you said you were teaching at school.
Right. Well, actually, this particular time was when I was teaching in the States as a high school teacher, and these girls really wanted to sleep with me, and they were just like full on. So that was in the States that all the ladies and some guys really wanted to bang me. I even told this anecdote last week where they wanted to have sex with me real bad, and I was mowing the grass on a weekend, and it was hot, so I had my shirt off when I was mowing this grass, and across the streets there was a garage sale, and I wasn't paying attention to what was going on to the garage sale, and I guess one of the high school girls wound up at this garage sale and saw me across the street mowing the grass with my shirt off, and unbeknownst to me, she took my picture with her future phone device, and so when school went back in on Monday,
that picture also
everybody, all the faculty, all the students, and they were like, "Oh yeah, Nash, this is you." Like, "Oh no, I'm going to jail." Also, that's a pretty good picture of me.
Well, I mean, they can't really fault you. I mean,
right?
Mowing grass.
Yeah, mowing grass. Yeah, and I was just like, "Oh man," and the girl that took it was like, "Yeah, I'm the one who took this," and I was like, "Man, I wish you would have told me, because I would have flexed really hard if I knew that I was going to get my picture taken." Like, this is pretty flattering, though, that I didn't know my picture was getting taken, and I'm just mowing the grass and looked real good in that picture. It was good. It was
good lighting.
It was good lighting. It was
just, nice sheen from the sweat
it was the golden hour or whatever, dusk or dawn, whenever the golden hour is.
The early dawn.
The early dawn? Okay, yeah. Or it's like sun up and sun down, I think, is when when the
it's
sun's not too high.
When it's not too bright.
Right, yeah. So it was, I was looking real good. I was nice and oiled up from the sweat. It was good. But anyway, yeah, so these chicks wanted to bang me and some dudes, and the reason I did not have sex with these sexy children, these high schoolers, was not because they were children, and it wasn't because I was afraid of losing my job, because I love quitting jobs. Teaching's not my career. I was just doing it for funsies, basically. And I wasn't not having sex with them because I was afraid of going to jail. Because no one tells me what to do, especially the law, as long as the law doesn't know what I'm up to. But no, I did not have sex with these children because I refused to violate the sanctity of the teacher-student relationship. It was honor. Did not have sex with these people because of honor. That's the only reason. That's the only reason.
And that's not a bad reason.
Yeah, people say I'm unscrupulous, but I have at least that one scruple. I will not abuse my teacher-student authority. Like, I would definitely abuse my authority if, like, I had a student that could get me discounts on something I wanted.
Oh, sure.
Or, like, something else. I don't know, like, if I could get students to, like, cut the grass for me, maybe I would do that. But anything that would cause potential emotional scarring.
Like emotional, psychological
issues. Damn it. Yeah, I'd probably back off of that. Now, I'm not saying that, if those girls went from 17 to 18 and then graduated and then were like, "Hey, there's a party at my house, maybe you should come because I'm not in high school anymore." Yeah, that scruple's right out the window, because the teacher-student relationship's gone.
Yeah, there's no problem there.
Exactly.
On all fronts.
Yeah, on all fronts. Yeah, I'm cleared of all charges. So there's that. But yeah, that's the reason. I just would not, abuse that authority. I don't think anyone should take advantage. And then we were trying to decide where the line was, because Ben was like, well, what if you're like a guitar teacher that you see like once a week, that you got you pulled a little tab off the flyer, and I was like, we both agree that that's probably fine, because you're
not really getting I wouldn't say you have like any kind of real authority over the person at that point.
Yeah, it's more of I don't know what you would call that, sort of tutoring.
Yeah,
some craft. I don't know. It's not a real. We decided it was probably an institution is where the cutoff is. Like probably homeschool is where the cutoff is. If you are an official educator of all the regular subjects and have a lot of time, if you're responsible for the primary learning, that's probably the cutoff. If you're because I don't see a problem with it if you were like a college tutor and you were just tutoring.
Well, if they're college age, then.
Yeah, but again, see, the age is not the cutoff.
Right. I understand. I know you're saying that's not really your criteria.
That's not the criteria. It's just we're trying to find where the line is for the teacher-student line. So
even then, it's still frowned upon for say a college professor with a
right.
student.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because that's still
morally legal.
Yeah, that's still the teacher-student relationship. So right. I would still put the kibosh on that. But if you were just a tutor who wasn't the primary instructor, then I'd say that's that gets the green light from me. I guess it's a case-by-case basis, but yeah, that's what we were talking about. What other questions or comments you got?
I think that was the only really kind of loose thread I had for myself. I of course I'm very interested in just hearing about all of your times in Japan.
Shenanigans.
In general, yeah, but just me personally, I've always had a kind of fascination with Japan.
Yeah, it's a great,
from a young age.
It's a great place.
But yeah, if you want to get started with the part 2 of the Mount Fuji.
Well, I guess this would be part 1, really.
Yeah, well, I know because you basically said
we'll have to start.
Unbeknownst to me, I was going through the Murder Woods, and some crazy shit happened, and then later I found out it was the Murder Woods. That's why.
Yeah, that's the trailer. So I guess we'll have to start the story from the beginning, which is fine because we weren't too far into it. But
because like I said, basically you decided you're gonna climb Fuji. You misjudged how far a mountain actually is.
Yeah. So for those that didn't get to hear the original one, I was going to school in Japan, and we got what kind of boils down to a spring break, but it's in the autumn. We got a week off of school, and this comes into play later on.
Is that the Golden Week kind of thing?
Different week. That's more summery. Yeah, that's more summery. This was Obon, which is a holiday that I won't elaborate on for spoiler reasons, and then we'll circle back around to it. But off for Obon. I think this was the one for Obon, and so I was like, what am I gonna do with this week off? I need to go on a training mission to strengthen my martial arts heart spirit. And I was like, I'm gonna go climb Mount Fuji. So I got to talking to my buddy, and he and I sort of brainstorming, and I found out that most people... So Mount Fuji is divided into stations, 1 through 10, 1 being close to the base, and 10 being the tippity top, where there's a little hut where you can stay. And they have a furnace and a brander inside, and so when you actually start climbing Mount Fuji, they give you a staff. And at every station, you can stop and pay money to get it branded with how high you've made it and the station. And then I found out that most people take a bus, and by most people, everybody takes a bus to the 5th station, which is halfway up the mountain. And there's a shanty town there that has shops and souvenirs and food and all kinds of stuff. And everybody starts their climb from there. That's where they get their staff, their climbing walking stick, and then they get up to the top and climb back down and take a bus away, and the whole thing takes 1 day. You could, if you were hurrying, you could probably bang the whole thing out in 8 hours if you're starting from the 5th station and you really got the gumption. But I was like, no way, that's not climbing the mountain, that's climbing the top half of the mountain. I want to climb this whole mountain. So I decided that I would start from far away, because it's a very broad mountain. It's a very subtle grade. So I was like, all right, you know, how do I know when I've started climbing?
Yeah, Fuji is a very wide
it's
mountain.
So wide. So in order to compensate for that, I was like, well, I'll just get on this train, and I will take this train until I can see Mount Fuji clearly, and then I will get out and start walking from there. And so that's what I did. For those of you who don't know, from the main island, from Honshu in Japan, you can see Mount Fuji from almost anywhere if the weather's good enough. Like, as long as there's no buildings or anything in the way.
You can still literally be 100 miles away and see it.
Yes, very literally. Very literally. And that's the problem, because I got out of this train and I was like, time to go. And I started walking, and then, like, over a day later, the mountain did not look any closer. I was like, I might have misjudged the situation here. So the pro tip for our listeners, just because you can see a mountain does not mean you are almost there. Something to take with you into everyday life is that lesson there. Just one of many Nash pro tips, lifestyle tips. But anyway, yeah, so I stopped right before I got on the train. I stopped at this little convenience store, and I got a bag of $1 raisin rolls. And I was like, I'll need these for rations. And I ate them all on the train, like on the way there. And I was like, all done. And then I just got off and started walking. I had no supplies at all, nothing.
That should last me a week.
Yeah, I was just like, just ate this whole bag of raisin dinner rolls. I'm not known for my moderation, in case you haven't noticed. I mean, I'm much, now that I've gone to like proper survival school and stuff, I can ration and do things like that. But at the time, I was just like, raisin rolls! And then I ate them all. And I was like, well, probably shouldn't have done that, but no sense in, you know, crying over spilt milk.
Can't really worry too much about it
That's
now.
Right.
It's already done.
It's all water under the fridge. So
now I just got to focus on conserving energy.
That's right. So as I high-step my way to Mount Fuji, like
I still got 50 miles to go.
Nothing's better for training than marching. So I'm just like walking there. And so I'm most of the time not on a road. In fact, on my blog, I told the story on video, not nearly as entertaining as I'm telling it now, I hear. On my blog is a video that actually has pictures, so you can see where I started from. In fact, do we have anything we could bring that up on right now? It's me walking to Mount Fuji. This is where I started from. Please describe to the audience.
So there's a road. He's basically looking at Fuji from the opposite side of the road. Fuji's clearly visible.
Does it look like a huge mountain? Does it look like a huge, gigantic mountain?
I mean, you can tell. I mean, I would think that yes, that is a large mountain. But not a huge
knowing that it's
what Ben just said, you know, it looks close.
Yeah, knowing that that's Mount Fuji though, does it look close?
No.
Yeah, it does not look close at all. Yeah, so that's where I started walking from. But anyway, so I was walking, and then you know, I was just making a beeline for the mountain. So you can see in that picture, the road's not heading towards Mount Fuji.
Right, the road's kind of almost running perpendicular.
Yeah, so I just from this picture, just straight to the mountain, right? So sometimes I'm on a road, most of the time I'm not. I'm cutting through farmland and people's yards and all kinds of things. And eventually, I come to this forest that surrounds the base of Mount Fuji. Mm-hmm. I did no research. I had no context for this particular...
What you were getting into.
Right, for this particular forest. I just knew that it was huge and appeared to go all the way around the base of Mount Fuji, and I wasn't on a road or anything, so there was no signage or whatever. So I just... Knowing that I needed to... If I was going to continue on my straight line path, I needed to...
Cut
through the forest, you know? So I go in, and I'm just marching around. Marching, high-stepping. Good. It's good for training. So I'm going in, and...
So a quick question. So when you first arrived to like kind of the outskirts of the forest, like what time of day?
It was afternoon.
Afternoon? Okay.
It was afternoon, so...
So something like if you were like deciding to like enter the forest at dusk, I'm like,
that's a bad idea. Yeah, it was definitely not... It wasn't like 7 p.m. or anything like that. It was like noon, so I was like, yeah, I'm going to hike through these woods, and I'll be out in no time. Mm-hmm. So I enter the woods, and I'm walking around, and in relatively no time, I realize that I can't see Mount Fuji at all because the forest is so thick. Mm-hmm. And then I also can't see where I came from clearly because the forest is so thick. And I can't see the sky to try to, like, celestially navigate because the canopy's too thick. And I was like, well, I'll just have to head in the direction that I think I was heading in.
Hope that I go straight.
Yeah, and if you've ever tried to do long-range land navigation, land nav, even if you have visual markers and a compass, you drift off course super fast. You have to constantly do...
Well, especially if you're going through, like, any kind of rough terrain or, like, a forest. You're constantly going around things.
Exactly. You get disoriented so quickly, and, you know, even if you're using a compass, being off 1 degree over the course of several miles, that puts you way off course. So I'm just walking around this forest, just lost and hungry, because I've been out for a while now. I don't know, it's like day 2 or something. And so I'm just walking, and, like, man, this is something, but I think I'm going in the right direction. And I'm tired, and I'm hungry, and then now it's getting dark. And I'm like, well, this is not ideal, but, you know, I can't just stop what I'm doing and wait until the sun rises, because I don't even know if it's actually getting dark or if just I can't see the sun because it's so thick in here. So I'll just keep going. So I'm going and going and going. And then now it's properly dark. It's sometime in the middle of the night. And I'm just... my nerves start to... If you've ever been awake for a while and in an unpleasant situation, your mind plays tricks on you, regardless of, you know, how trained or untrained you are.
Like, I back when I was younger, I can't really do it so much anymore. I used to, well, for a long time I was actually on a schedule where I would sleep every other day, but then also I would just go randomly just long periods of time without sleeping.
Yeah, and you start to hallucinate.
I would start you'd get the sensation of just, like, seeing movement.
Yes.
Kind of like out of, like, your peripheral vision.
Yeah. You know, what's that? What's it
like, you turn, there's, like, nothing there, but, like, the longer I would stay, like, the more that would keep happening.
Yes, exactly that. So, I'm in the woods, and I'm tired. I'm very tired. I'm hungry. I'm definitely lost in unfamiliar territory in the middle of the night. And so you start having that inner monologue, and then all of a sudden I start seeing and hearing things. And so, you know, I'm doing the thing where you calm yourself down. You're like, just breathe, man. Just breathe. You're just tired and hungry in the woods by yourself, lost and alone. It's fine. Everything's fine. But, like...
you're just freaking out a little bit.
Yeah, you're just freaking out. This is natural. The first step to fixing the freak out is realizing you're freaking out.
Right.
Everything's cool. But it's one of those where you're telling that to yourself, but you can tell you have no confidence in what you're telling yourself. Like, just relax, bro. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
Everything's gonna be fine.
It's all cool.
Yeah, it's
all
one
cool.
of those. Yeah, you're just...
Oh, God, what was that?
Yeah,
don't worry about it. It's
everything's fine. You hear a twig snap. You're like, who's there? Nobody. Of course it's nobody. Everything's fine. So it's one of those. And... just the longer I was there, and, like, I didn't want to stop moving, but it's, like, pitch black now. And so I was like, well, I'll just keep fumbling.
So basically, I assume, literally just kind of walking with your hands out in front of you.
I am literally walking with my hands in front of me. And, you know, it's been, because it's the middle of the night now, so my eyes have adjusted to the best of their ability. So I can make out, like, the vaguest of silhouettes, because I don't even have starlight, you know, to give me that natural night vision. So I'm just really lost in the sauce. And I'm just like, you know, I hope I don't, like, punch a raccoon or something and lose an arm. So I'm just moving around through the woods, but then the longer I do, I start the sounds and the things that I'm hearing are increasing in intensity, and we'll circle back to that. But I start hearing things and seeing even weirder things, lights, like floating light sort of apparitions.
Like,
there's no
in the distance, or...
there's no, like, very close, like, not confusingly, like, I couldn't be like, oh, that's probably something else way off in the distance. Like, I'm looking, like, right at it, like, this probably isn't a thing that I'm looking right at. Like, it's one of those, and so I'm just like...
So it's like 20 feet away from you, it looks like someone's shining a flashlight in your face or something.
I'm looking at ghosts, is what it is.
Okay.
I'm, like, seeing will-o'-the-wisps and ghosts and things like that, and I'm just like, this is fine. Everything's fine. You're just freaking out and tired and alone. This is normal. And what I'm hearing is this, like, moaning, wailing sound. Well, it's probably like a...
It's just the wind.
Yeah, it's the wind. Like, the wind speaks human languages, right? So, yeah, I'm hearing just, like, moaning and wailing sounds that... All of this started out, like, very subdued at first, to where you can, like, convince yourself you're not seeing or hearing these things, but then it just kept getting, like, more and more outrageous as the evening...
To the point where you're like, alright, there is some fucking crazy shit happening now.
No, I was still in denial. Still in 100% denial, because I don't believe in ghosts or spirits or spiritual stuff. I'm a scientifically minded individual. That being said, there are still...
That being said, I definitely saw ghosts.
That being said, I've definitely seen ghosts and demons and witch doctors and magic. I don't believe in any of it, but I have encountered it all firsthand on several occasions, which I still label as currently unexplained phenomena that, given all the data, science could, parse through and figure out. There's science that has yet to be cracked that we can currently refer to as superstitious names, but I wouldn't want to just rule out anything and just be like, it's beyond understanding. But that being said, perception is reality.
Right.
So within the reality that I was perceiving at the time, all this shit was going down. And that's what I kept telling myself in my mind. I was like, you're just imagining this stuff because you're alone and you're, like, hungry and overworked, the hallucinations are normal. And I was like, man, this shit is vivid and very specific. And so I'm just following around, like, just trying to ignore this stuff. It's not like, I mean, there wasn't, like, a million ghosts. It wasn't, like, a discotheque of, like, flashing lights and ghosts and stuff. It's just, like, a couple of apparitions and, like, screaming whale sounds, far too great to ignore right off the bat. But I was doing my best to be in denial. And then I rounded the corner of this tree. And as I did, I came about as close to this thing as you and I are now. So about, like, I don't know, like 3 and a half feet away, right? I round this tree, and I am eye to eye with a demon. It's a man that's like 7 or 8 feet tall with a deer's head, and its eyes are made of fire. And it's just like a giant guy with a deer's head and flaming eyeballs. And so I just...
did you make eye contact? Or?
I did, yeah. I looked at this thing, and I don't know if it was like 1 full second, like, the wheel needed a time to be like, click, and, like, process in my mind, but I imagine it was probably like 1 second of me, like, processing what I was seeing, because I didn't look at it and I wasn't like, this clearly isn't real. Like, I took one look and my brain understood what it was seeing, and I immediately let out a wail and simultaneously turned in the opposite direction and started sprinting. Like, as fast as I could. I was just sprinting. And I never turned around to see if this thing was following me, but it sounded like it was, and I felt like it was. Kind of like when you're having a nightmare and you just know...
You never see what's chasing you, but you know something's chasing
that it is.
you.
Yeah, it was like that. So I'm just like, ah! It's just like Kermit the Frog yelling through this forest, like arms waving in the sky, like the least efficient way to run. Just like, ah! Just going. And I'm smacking face first into trees and bouncing off of them. I'm just going nuts. Like, that was the tipping point of insanity right there. Like, I had been able to deny everything that was happening up until then, but I was just like, ah! I'm just running through the woods, smacking into stuff, and then I fall in a hole that's, like, over waist deep. So I'm, like, mid... whatever this, I guess, waist, above my hips line into this hole. And I'm just like, freaking out. I'm lucky I didn't break my legs falling into this thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're running full tilt.
Full tilt!
into a hole like that.
I mean, I couldn't get up to full speed because I kept hitting trees that was slowing me down. But I mean, I was running as fast as I could, given the circumstances. So I fall in this hole. I'm freaking out. I get out of this hole. I'm sprinting. I get to a clearing in the woods where I can see the sky and I can see a dirt path because it's a clearing. And the reason it was a clearing was because there was construction equipment in there that had been, like, excavating or bulldozing or clearing some land, and they had left the bulldozer in this clearing. So I ran to it, and I tried to get in, because I was like, I'm going to lock myself in this bulldozer.
That's what I would try to do.
First, it was just like, and I couldn't get in. So I climbed up on top, the very top of the bulldozer, and I was just, like, huddled up, like, waiting for this thing to emerge from the forest. and it never did. And I looked up at the sky, and I could tell, from the sky that it was probably about 4 in the morning. So I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to huddle.
Just stay here until the sun comes
Yeah,
out.
I was like, I'm going to huddle up on top of this bulldozer until daybreak. And I did. And, I attempted to get back into the bulldozer, and I still couldn't, or get into the bulldozer, and I still couldn't. Because I was like, it was so cold. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't stress how cold Mount Fuji's forest is in the middle of the night. I don't know if it's because it's devoid of all living energies and that it's a nexus to another world, or if it's just because it's in a valley and it collects moisture and it's cold. You be the judge. We'll let science handle it.
A little for column A, a little for column B.
Yeah. I mean, I'm no professional environmental scientist or anything. I'm no math magician, but it was cold. So I'm up there and I'm just like, man, it's freaking cold. And then the sun came up a couple hours later. So I climb down from the bulldozer, and I do my morning exercises that I do every morning, bar none, even when I'm living on a boat in the middle of the ocean, or
being chased by demons.
When it's morning exercise time, it's morning exercise time. So I did my 30 minutes of martial arts training in the morning, and I was like, all right, feeling good, I'm feeling good. So because I'm in this clearing, I can see Mount Fuji again. And I'm like, okay, I'm way closer. I'm like at least halfway through these woods, if not more. And because this was a clearing and the bulldozer was on it, I could see the path that it had made. And I was like, I bet if I follow this path, it'll take me out to the road. And then if I walk along that road long enough, it'll get me up to where I need to be.
The bus path that takes
it'll be the bus path. And then I was like, man, but like roads don't go straight up mountains. They zigzag back and forth, right? And I was like, I can't be spending my whole life on this zigzaggy road. I'm not a bus. Like, I'm a guy. I'll be on this road forever. So I was like, all right, I could take this road, or now that I can see Mount Fuji and I have my bearings, I could go back into the woods and cut through. And I was like, I'm going back in. So I went back in and actually made it through the rest of that day. And I made it to Mount Fuji proper. I made it to the old 5th station for that side. So I made it to the old 1st station. So the first check-in point. And it was like a pile of wood on the ground. Like, it was nothing because there was no road or anything to it. It had not been used in a very long time. Like, I don't know. I don't want to say 100 years, but a long time. And so there's actually like a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th station on every side of the mountain because there's multiple ways you can climb it. So the way that I was approaching it, I had made it to a 1st station. And I was like, all right, I did it. Like, I've made it to the start. And so I spent the rest of the day, like, forcefully slogging up the mountain, and then I made it to the 5th station, and there's, like, people coming, I think it was, like, noon on whatever day I made it there, and people are coming off the bus fresh, like, I'm ready to climb Mount Fuji. And I'm just like, oh, just emerged from the woods at the 5th station, and I just look exactly like...
They're on, like, an actual, like, path, and you just come, like...
Yeah, I'm just like... On the ground, yeah, I'm just already, like, scraped and bloody and beaten and tired and, like... emaciated, like I'm in tatters already, and I'm like, I'm ready to start. So I went to this ramen restaurant, and I got a huge bowl of ramen because it's been a while since I ate. And as it was like getting prepared, I passed out on the table, and I fell asleep for, I don't know, at least an hour. And then I woke up and I ate my ramen, and I'm like, all right, gotta go get my official Mount Fuji climbing stick because I'm gonna have it branded at the top. Like, that's gonna be my souvenir that proves that I did this. And so I went to the store because they don't give you the stick. Like, they need to make revenue. Especially because at the 5th and higher stations, people live there throughout the year to service shops. They're running the shops and stuff, but they don't have like access to a lot of things. So like, there's no proper running water. So they need to have all their water like bust up there. And so when the higher you get, like if you have to use the toilet or something, like it's a huge expense. Like, everything costs a lot of money. And at every station, you can get rations and services, but it's exponentially more expensive.
The price doesn't just keep increasing at every station.
yeah, it's ridiculous. And then at the very tippity top, there's a little inn where you can stay for a large sum of money, and then you can wake up super early in the morning and watch the sunrise on the top of Mount Fuji and all that. And that's where they have the final furnace to get that top brand. And so I can't remember. I think this was the Obon one. but this might have been the other one might have been the other one. But anyway, so I get to the fifth station, I get my stick, and I'm like, let's do it. So I start climbing, get to the sixth station. So when you get the stick at the fifth station, it starts with the brand from the fifth station by default. So you get the because that's where everyone starts. So it's like, boop, you made it to the start. So I had my stick, and I'm like, all right, cool. I get to the sixth station, and they're like, hey, you want to pay a few bucks, get it branded, so, you know, prove you made it to the sixth station. It shows the number of the station and how high you made it. I'm like, no, the only one that matters is the
only
top.
one that matters is station 1.
Yeah, 10, number 10.
Yes.
It's like the only one that matters is the top. Like, I don't need your. I'm not dropping $8 and $10 every so many stations. The only one that matters is the top. That's where I'm going. So spent the whole day climbing up, just miserable. Once you get above the cloud line, there's nothing to block the sun, so it's just like, really, all the vegetation is gone, so it's just like a Mad Max wasteland of flying rocks and hard winds. It's just, my eyes were literally bleeding because rocks kept smacking into them. I got a picture somewhere on there of like my eyes bleeding. Yeah, you can scroll through.
I've seen quite a few pictures, and like
go to the very bottom.
The top, I would say, maybe,
there's a picture of my eye, and then my foot got all messed up.
Yeah, the top maybe like 1/8 of Mount Fuji.
Yeah,
is above the cloud line.
Yeah.
And yeah, I imagine the winds start getting pretty crazy up there.
They are, yeah. So look at this picture here. It's mostly small rocks that fly around. They're like little volcanic moon rocks, because it is technically a volcano.
Yeah, well, and so I was going to ask too, like, so when you get to the... Well, I'll wait until you... when you get to the peak.
Sure, all right, well...
Because there's not really a peak. So
yeah, it's it's a crater is what it is. So, I mean, there is a top.
Basically, it's a caldera from a dormant volcano.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, so there's not like a top of a pyramid.
There's a rim.
Yeah, there's a rim, and so most people walk around the rim, and then, you know, stay at the end or climb back down or do whatever. So I finally managed to get to the top, and I'm just like, and then I get there, and I get to the hut, temple, shack that's up there at the top, and I bang on the door. I'm like, doof, doof, doof. And the guy opens the little slat with just the eyeballs, like from the Wizard of Oz, and he's like, what do you want? And I was like, man, I made it to the top. Brand my stick. And he was like, oh, no, the climbing season starts tomorrow. We're not turning the furnace on until tomorrow. You got to come back tomorrow. And I was like, I'm not coming back tomorrow. Like, I just went through a spiritual gauntlet to get here. A literal spiritual gauntlet. Like, there were spirits that I had to run through, and demons. Brand my staff. And he was like, come back tomorrow. Just, like, closed it. And that was that. So it's just like, son of a bitch. So I had to climb back down, and I was actually wearing shoes like a fool. I hate wearing shoes. Foot prisons. I have strong nature feet. I don't need shoes. But they were rubbing against the tops of my feet the whole time. So as I was going down, just blisters all over the tops of my feet. But I managed to get down, and I made it away from the mountain. I did take the bus out of there, because I climbed the mountain, made it back down to the 5th station. There's no point in me climbing back down through the murder woods.
Like, I'm not going through those woods again.
Yeah, I was just like, that's a bit much. So I get back into town, and I had been gone for basically the entire vacation, and so Obon, as it turns out... Well, okay, so anyway, so I get back, and I go visit my buddies at the Kyokushin Dojo that I was basically living at. I mean, I had an apartment, but I was basically living at the Kyokushin Dojo, because that's the real reason I was in Japan, was to be a student of Kyokushin karate, and other styles of karate too, but that was my base at the time. And so I get back to the dojo, and everyone's gathered around, and they're just like, man, you look like shit. And I was like, yeah, I did it. I climbed all the way from this town. And they're like, what? That's nowhere close. Like, yeah, I know. I climbed the whole mountain.
You don't need to tell me.
Yeah, I figured it out. And they were just like, man, you look awful. And I was like, yeah, it's because I did it, man. I really did it. So we're like in a circle, you know, and they're just like listening to my tale. And my best Japanese buddy, he's like, how'd you get through the murder woods? And I was like, do what now? And he was like the suicide forest. How did you get through there? And I was like, what do you mean? What's the suicide forest? And he was like the woods that surround the base of Mount Fuji. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, how'd you get through? How'd you get around them? And I was like,
I went through them.
Yeah, I was like,
I walked through.
I was like, yeah, I went in there. And he was like, what? It's illegal to go in there. And I was like, oh, it wasn't on roads, though. There was, like, no one to stop me. So I just went in. And he's like, what? And he's like, how long were you in there? And I was like, I don't know, a couple days maybe? And he, at least overnight. And he's like, oh my God, did you sleep in there? And I was like, yeah, I slept on this bulldozer.
For a couple hours?
Yeah, I was like, yeah. I was like, if you want to call that sleep, like I was in there. He's like, what do you mean you went in the murder woods? Like, don't you know that the metal in the mountain keeps compasses from working and the canopy's too thick, you can't see anything and you can't see where you're going? Everyone who goes in there gets lost and dies. It's illegal to go in, and people go in there and dump dead bodies, like the mafia goes in there and dumps their dead bodies, and people go in there and kill themselves all the time, and they have been going in there to kill themselves for 200 years.
Yeah.
It's like a nexus of evil energies. People go in there and they get swept up by the feeling of, desperation. And they kill themselves. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, man, the whole place is full of ghosts. And I was like, that's not a thing. And then my buddy turns me to the side. He's like, hey, man, did you see this specific kind of ghost? And I was like, maybe. And he was like, did you hear the wails of all these murdered women? And I was like, oh my God.
It's like, well, I don't think I definitely heard wailing.
Yeah.
But...
And what's so disturbing is, so had I been warned about this beforehand, I would have thought that it was a psychosomatic, like, self-projection.
Right.
Like, I was expecting to encounter these things.
So that's why.
So I projected them onto myself. But it's weird because I had no knowledge of any of this at all, and I went in and I saw all the things, and I heard all the things that people that people say you're supposed to see. And that was very disturbing for me because I didn't have any expectation to see those things. And everyone, before I had said that I'd seen them, my buddy was like, hey, is this exactly what you saw and heard? And I was like, oh my God, yes it was. And he's like, whoa, man, did you come across like any demons or anything? And I was like, yeah. And I told him about the one I encountered, and he's like, oh yeah, knowing Nash, I bet you fought it. Did you fight that demon? Like, did you try to chop its deer horns off? And I was like, no. I definitely ran away screaming in the opposite direction as hard as I could.
I think that when you come across an 8-foot-tall, deer-headed, fire-eyed demon,
right?
That's probably the smart thing to do.
Or was it? Maybe I should have taken its head and used it as a light to navigate through. Like, if it was a video game, that would have been the thing. He's the boss, you beat him, you get his head, and you can use that to, navigate through the rest of the woods. Or you can just run screaming in the opposite direction and hope you don't die, like I did. But then he was like, yeah, people go in there and they try to bury all these other bodies, but then they can't get out. And even the police only go in every now and again, and they have to, tie string. They have to spelunk in and then get out, and that's it. And there's a couple paths where you're allowed to go in that are roped off that are don't go beyond this point. And there's just kind of A to B walking paths, but you can't go anywhere else. And that's not where I was. But then I was like, holy shit, that thing I fell in that was waist deep, I bet that was a grave. And I was like, oh my God, and it could have been my grave. And so it's just oh my God. And I was like, you guys are just... It was weird, though, because, we were all, 21 at the time. And I was like, well,
you guys are just fucking with me.
Yeah, I was like, you guys are... I was like, a couple of you were probably just, giving me a hard time. My best Japanese buddy, he loves breaking my balls. When anyone else is around, he'll give me, a lot of compliments, but when no one else is... that day, he was like, the only reason you're alive is because you're too stupid to know you're supposed to be dead. And he says that all the time, which I think might actually be true. I think the only reason I'm alive is because I'm too stupid to know I'm supposed to be dead. But, so I went to school, and, so I guess the teachers had been calling me all break because they wanted me to come in. In Japanese school, the teachers have contact with you all the time. And so you're never not within their grasp. And so even though I was on break, they wanted me to come into school to talk about some projects. And I was not having any of it. So I didn't take any communication tools with me, as per the usual. So I was like, why would I want to get contacted when I'm out on this training pilgrimage? I'm just going to leave everything away. And so when I got back, there were all these calls from the teachers that were like, "Where are you? We want to talk about this school stuff. Come into school." I was like, "I'm not coming into school on my break." So I went in to school when I got back, and they're like, "Jesus Christ, you look awful." And of course I didn't say it like that because they were speaking Japanese, but I told them, I was like, "Yeah, I went on a martial arts training mission, and I climbed Mount Fuji from this town." And they were like, "Well, that's nowhere close." I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Well, how'd you get through the woods?" And I was like, "Oh, I just went through." They're like, "You went into the murder woods? Don't you know it's full of ghosts and all this other stuff?" And I was like, "Oh, no, you guys are adults. You're supposed to be not talking about this stuff." But yeah, so that was my miserable time climbing Mount Fuji. The Japanese have an expression. They say, "A fool never climbs Mount Fuji, but only a fool climbs it more than once." Meaning that it's a terrible experience at the time, but it's one that everyone should have, and then they can look back fondly on. But if you do it more than one time, you're an idiot. And I was just like, well, this was miserable. They also have another saying about Mount Fuji, because there is... Mount Fuji's actually not on the World Heritage Site list.
Really?
And the reason is because it is full of garbage. People keep going there and leaving their garbage.
And well, yeah, I know the woods around it.
Right, well, the woods around it are full of bodies.
Bodies, but then, like, just discarded junk.
Yeah, well, people go in there to kill themselves. They take stuff, and then they're dead, so they don't take it away. And so the cops that go in, like, once or twice a year, they try to get some of that stuff out of there, but, you know, they're not really overly concerned with, you know, the cleaning of the murder woods. They're more concerned with seeing if they can find an ID, any missing persons. But yeah, like the mountain, like the 5th station and higher, like, you know, there's no real proper disposal facilities, and so everyone's encouraged to carry their garbage down with them. And if you've ever met a human being, you know that they're very lazy, and so they litter all over the place, and there's so much garbage that it's been denied entry onto the World Heritage Site list until they clean up their act. And so the Japanese have another saying about Mount Fuji that goes, "Mount Fuji is like a woman, beautiful from far away, but full of garbage when you get up close." And I thought that was really funny. But yeah, so I was like, man, this is miserable. My eyes are bloody. Like, I got chased by demons. I am never coming back to this mountain. This was the worst. And flash forward less than a year later, and I was climbing it again.
But as I know, you went back a second time.
I did go back a second time. Yeah, a good buddy of mine died in a motorcycle incident, and he was also an adventurer, and so his family had his ashes, or his family had him cremated, and then they split the ashes amongst his adventuring buddies and had them scatter them all over the world. So they were like, "Oh, Nash, you know, you're all up in Japan. Maybe drop these off somewhere sacred, like Mount Fuji or something." And I was like, "Fuck!" So I went on another pilgrimage, and that's a second story, because that one is also crazy. That one also has supernatural elements to it.
No, that time, the second time, is that when you did it barefoot?
That is when I climbed Mount Fuji barefoot. Yes, so that's a trailer for the next story when we return. Nash versus Mount Fuji 2. Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo.
Revenge of Mount Fuji is the subtitle of that one. But yeah, climbed it again, and I climbed it barefoot, and again, there were supernatural elements to the story.
Did you go through the woods again?
Well, you'll have to stay tuned. I did go through the woods again. At a different spot on an actual path.
Okay, so you took an actual path.
I took an actual path. I took a special path. I took the old warrior monks ascetic training trail that nobody uses anymore as part of my training, my warrior monk training. But yeah, things happened again, and I was.
So that trail you're talking about, that I know there's basically kind of like a pilgrimage thing where you can go through that trail, and there's a bunch of different temples you visit all along the way. So one of those is at Mount Fuji or on Mount Fuji?
Yeah, there's several different trails up Mount Fuji and several different pilgrimage trails, and there's one pilgrimage trail that did go up Mount Fuji. In fact, there should be a picture. I actually passed a bunch of monks on their pilgrimage. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Top left.
Oh yeah. No. Left.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
That's this one.
yeah. There we go. There's monks coming down from the pilgrimage.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I'm gonna take this old warrior monks trail and climb it barefoot. And then supernatural stuff happened. Unbelievable things happened. and then I got shit on again and barely broke even, but came out with a good story, as per the usual.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was Nash versus Mount Fuji, Curse of the Murder Woods, is the name of that story.
All right. Well, I think that'll be a good place to pick up next time.
Yeah, is that a
second excursion?
That'll be a good story to.
So where were you sitting at on time? Right
yeah,
now?
where are we at on time?
1:17.
1 hour and 17 minutes.
Yeah.
So that should be, I think, a good point to cut off.
That's not good. Yeah. Any final closing? The man commented that last episode we did a product review.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he really liked the product review. So what it was is I'm a notorious cheap ass because I'm always adventuring off everywhere.
Save your money for travel.
Yeah, exactly. And even while I'm traveling, you pennies make dollars and ounces make pounds and all that stuff. So I try to stretch it out as much as
euros.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like pounds sterling are a currency in Britain. Well, that's not a very catchy saying. I'll work on that later. All the pieces are there. But so I found I typically buy everything on time service at the grocery, which is like if the fruit has gone bad or is about to go bad, you have to eat it within the next 2 days. They're like, hey, here's $20 worth of fruit for $2. And so that's how I get all my stuff. Or they'll be like, here's all these baked goods we couldn't sell in time. So
stuff that
God.
That otherwise we're just throwing away.
Right. So I buy everything like that. Well, I was getting my sundries the other week, and they had a huge crate of booze on time service. And that's the phase.
How does that work?
Exactly. Because
unless it's been opened,
it doesn't really go bad, right? Well, I think I figured it out because it was all the same kind. So I'm guessing it was an overstock, no-sell situation where they bought a bunch of this stuff
to clear up shelf space,
and nobody wanted it, and so they were trying to cut their losses. And it was. Do you ever drink alcohol?
Not very much anymore. It doesn't agree with me.
Doesn't say well. Okay, yeah.
The last time I actually had, I drank 2 pints of beer when a friend was in town, and just got this terrible headache.
Oh, okay, yeah.
A couple hours later,
that's
where it was basically just all right. The thing is, friend was out of town. I was like, I want to go home.
Yeah,
I feel like shit.
You're like, I'm sorry that I'm literally poisoned right now. I need to.
Now, liquor does not seem to affect me as badly.
Okay, so if you.
But I'm pretty picky about what liquor I like.
Fair enough. Yeah. So yeah, booze. All booze seems to treat me pretty well, but drugs, hallucinogens and weed, hallucinogens don't agree with me because I'm not strung tight enough, or I'm strung way too tight. Got a lot of edginess from different things, and so if I'm hallucinating a certain thing, it's usually not very good, and I don't want to come to and find out that I ripped apart 20 babies or something, or jump through a wall or something. So I'm not wired for hallucinogens, and weed just makes me viciously ill. I think I'm literally allergic to weed. But I do try it every 3 years just to make sure, because I seem like the type of guy who should really like it.
Yeah.
So we were talking about that last week. So certain things just don't agree with certain people, and that's okay. Not everything's for everyone. So beer and stuff, not for you. But alcohol, for the most part, seems to agree with me. I've never had a hangover, even though I've had alcohol poisoning twice. All I needed was a lot of water and a nap.
And that's basically what it felt like, was that I was just having a really bad hangover.
Yeah, see, I've got no.
After
I've also never had a headache, even though I've had a few concussions. I've never had an actual headache. I don't have. I understand it intellectually, but I've never experienced.
It's kind of my head hurts.
Yeah, I've never. I don't know that feeling.
I haven't actually. No one actually hit me in the head, but it feels like someone hit me.
Feels like my insides are coming out. My brain's coming out of the casing.
Yeah, it feels like it's swollen.
Yeah, see, I don't know that feeling. I don't know the feeling of a hangover, but I get it intellectually. Whereas when I describe what happens to me when I do any kind of marijuana, people are like, I understand what you're saying, but I don't have any sort of comparison for that. But anyway, so they had this booze on sale, and it was Uncle Bob's root beer flavored whiskey, and it is.
Sounds like it could be good.
Awful.
Okay.
Just awful. Yeah, no. It's if it didn't sound like it had potential, I wouldn't have bought it, because it was still $7. But
for like a whole case of it.
No, it's just for one big
bottle. For one bottle. Okay.
For one bottle. Although
that's not bad.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine, and that bottle will last me literally forever because it's undrinkable. I brought it over here and I made him try some, even though he doesn't really like alcohol at all. I have the theory that this actually isn't made with potable alcohol. I think it's made with wood grain alcohol or like a varnish.
Yeah.
Because it's super viscous and it reflects light like
you get that kind of like rainbowy
yes
kind of thing?
Exactly. Yeah, it was rainbow like an oil slick.
Yeah, that's not good to drink.
No, yeah, and as I was drinking, like, it didn't taste like, because people be like, haha, booze, it's poison, but this tasted like literal chemicals, like actual like stuff the Joker would fall into. Like, not okay. And then it didn't taste anything like root beer either. Like, it was the worst of everything, just the worst. So we kind of reviewed that last week. So we got positive feedback on the product reviews. So if you have a thing, or you come across a thing, like maybe in the future, if I come across another thing or something you want to talk about, we should do that. We should talk about a thing, because people need to know. We decided that we're the place that people come to
to get their information
for
on
their,
what they should buy.
Yeah, for their opinions.
What to spend their dollar on.
Yeah, what to spend their currency of choice on. Their skrill is my term for any currency at all. So people don't want to part with crappy. They don't want to part with their skrill for crappy products and stuff. So we'll talk about things.
Or we can have our buyer beware segment.
That's right. Yeah, buyer beware. Uncle Bob's root beer flavored whiskey is neither of those things. Yeah, thumbs down. 2 thumbs down and a frown.
Unless they want to offer a sponsorship.
That's true, yeah. If you're interested in sponsoring, we don't need to review your product. We'll shill it for you. If it happens to be good, then we'll review it favorably. If it doesn't happen to be good, we just won't say anything about it.
Yeah.
We'll just say this episode is sponsored by, and then
there we go.
Yeah.
We'll stay the spiel. And not really give any opinion about it.
Yeah, exactly. This episode is sponsored by tires.
Stamps.com.
Stamps.com,
need to mail something? Need a stamp? Why go to the post office when you can print it out on Stamps.com?
That's right. Also, is that a real place? Stamps.com?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no. Well, they need to be paying us for that. You should have used the generic...
Bleep
bleep the actual part.
Want it.
Yeah, then, excellent.
There's so many I listen to several different podcasts at work.
But anyway,
but a bunch of these I listen to, they all have the same sponsors.
Oh.
So all were Stamps.com, MeUndies, Dollar Shave Club.
Interesting. I do hear a lot of Dollar Shave Club. Well, here's what we do. We diversify the market. Yeah. We tap people who aren't yet sponsoring somebody or, something. I don't know. All the pieces are there. We'll sort it out.
We'll find the misfits.
or what? Yeah, this episode is sponsored by... Who would be a terrible... Just Firestone Tires. When you want your tires to fly right off of your car while you're driving them, Firestone Tires.
Or just like a terrible guy, British Petroleum.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a bad one. Are you tired of the Earth being a stable environment to live in? British Petroleum.
But so that's like I say, that bunch of them have all the ones I listen to have the same sponsors.
Okay. Well, I'm very excited to get sponsors because that means money. Mm-hmm. Also, I really just want to read a sponsorship.
I want an index card.
I just really I would love to just take the piss out of a sponsor read.
Yeah.
I just really want that because they want me to talk about them, but I want to talk about them my way. Just be like, this podcast is brought to you by Fandango. It's pretty much your only option for buying tickets.
Yeah. Now there's Flickster.
Is there?
Yeah.
Well, then we got to get them in
two.
A bidding. Two. Yeah, it doesn't count as a monopoly. You have so many options.
Yeah, it's like ISPs.
Yeah, we need to get them in a bidding war. Who wants to sponsor our not movie related?
I mean, Fandango, podcast? I think definitely has the market share.
Yeah,
but Flickster is definitely one that's around. I've used it.
Do you go to the cinema often? The theater?
Not as often now as I used to. I used to go and actually see a lot of movies in the theater. Now maybe I go 2 or 3 times a year.
I watch movies all the time at the theater. We were actually talking about I'm a terrible person to go to the theater with.
Are you one of those people that talks?
No, just the opposite. I take the theater experience excessively seriously.
Well, so do I.
And so
I don't want to talk If I go with someone, I don't want to talk to you.
I don't want
from the time the previews start.
Yeah. Well, I was actually talking. If I miss a trailer, I will bail on the movie. I need to see all the trailers.
I'm not that bad.
Someone, maybe me, but probably not, is paying to be in that theater, right? Like, I can watch the movie instantaneously anywhere because it's already been bootlegged before it's even hit theaters. I'm making the conscious decision to go to the theater and have the full theater experience.
It is, I would say, unless you have like a crazy home theater system.
Right, and even then, though, yeah, I enjoy.
It's a different experience.
Going to the cinema. I just hate everyone in the cinema.
Yeah.
And so, if I'm going there and I've missed the trailers to me are also part of the experience.
Yes.
So, like, if I've missed a handful of trailers, I'll just go to the next showing. Like, I won't go. If I'm already in line, I'll just be like, 1 ticket to the next one. Not this one, though. Or if I walk in and they're already playing, there's a good chance I'll walk out and just go to the next one. I take it very seriously. And if I'm in there and people are talking, I'm the guy that will probably start a fight over these people talking, or if people's phones are lighting up. Like, yeah. I'm very into my films. And if I'm with somebody, they're allowed to make maybe 2 one-word comments under their breath with a nudge, like, "Oh, that's pretty good." Like, yeah, that's pretty good. I'm not going to turn to acknowledge you. Yeah, I'm not going to turn to acknowledge you, but yeah, I know it's pretty good because I'm right here. 4th row. I also have to sit in the same spot every time. 4th row, dead center. It's the approximate 4th row though, because they've since remodeled a lot of theaters.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's the old 4th row dead center, current 2nd or 3rd row dead center, depending on the spatial awareness.
That's too close for my preference.
Right.
I like to sit probably. What we're like you say, like a lot of spaced out stuff now, where you have a lot more space between.
Yes.
rows.
So I don't want to be right up on the screen because I don't want to move my head to see what's going on. I want the screen to extend exactly to the periphery of my vision.
To basically envelop my vision entirely, but I can still see all of it.
Yeah, but no further. Like, I went to go see The Amazing Spider-Man #1, which was the first round of reboots.
Is that the one with...
That was the one with Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
And when it came out, I was in Tokyo, and I couldn't get a ticket in time. And now almost all theaters do this, but... at the time, it was almost a Japan-only thing where they had assigned seating at every theater. And I didn't get my ticket in time, and so I bought like a $31 ticket, and I was in the very first...
front,
right. I was in the far left. Very front row, far left.
That's how I went and saw Doctor Strange.
On an IMAX screen.
Hey, and
I was just like,
3D, that's how I saw Doctor Strange.
See shit. Like, I could see everything, but I couldn't process what I was seeing.
Yeah.
The angle was all wrong. I was too close. Everything was too big. And I was just like, God, I want to just enjoy Spider-Man. Was the initial reason we started talking about this. I don't know why.
I don't even remember how we got
I don't know. Sponsors.
Fandango. Yeah, there we go. We started off Fandango.
So anyway,
there's Flickster.
Any potential sponsors that are listening, I will take your sponsorship as seriously as I take going to the cinema or dodging societal responsibilities. I will go all in on your sponsorship. If
that's not an endorsement, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I will go all in. Anything worth doing is worth doing to the max. So if you've whatever, it's got diabetes needles that you need. People have diabetes. They need whatever blood sugar strips.
Wilfred Brimley's down. You could be the
That's
new
right.
face.
Yeah, that's true. Just like, hey, blood sugar strips. You need them probably. Get them from bloodsugarstrips.com, which is probably a actual thing. We'll just bleep all these out until they pay us. But yeah, so I guess this is a good part to sign off. You have any final thoughts?
I say maybe one of the things I'm interested in hearing about next time. Definitely Fuji Part 2 or Fuji the sequel.
Now Fuji Strikes Back. Yeah.
But also when you mentioned like you were living homeless in Tokyo, I'd be interested to hear some more about that because
it gets cold.
Especially at that time, Tokyo was one of, if not the most expensive cities to live in.
Very true. Yeah, it's still like top two or three. But yeah, at the time,
I know it's kind of fluctuating.
At the time, I don't think Dubai had come up all the way yet, and France I think was tied for #1, or Paris at the time I think was tied for #1. So yeah, it was like the most expensive city in the world. So we can talk about that. Definitely, money goes fast if you don't shop the dollar.
Yeah, that's what how do you survive homeless in the most expensive city in the world?
Excellent questions. Yeah, we briefly touched on that last week on my scrounging for food while living on the beaches of West Australia. So we can definitely drop some knowledge bombs on the listeners on how to survive. You know, how to limit your financial expenditures while you're trying to make it on this flying rock through space, with everyone else trying to keep you down. And then also, since we're still brainstorming. Oh, we didn't brainstorm names for the show. You want to go a quick couple of rounds? So anyway, my suggestion was we take one of the names from my 2 shows. Since what was the default title, like Handful of Nash or something like that?
It was like Nash's Adventures of Nash, something like that.
All right. Well, my blog is called The Chronicles of Nash.
Chronicles of Nash. Okay.
So that would be pretty good. But since the podcast isn't entirely about my Tales of Daring Do, I figured we could use like a broader title, because I mean, we're like a group. But I do like the idea that your head is already in the zone of using my name in the title, because I'm a huge fan of shoehorning my name into stuff.
Okay.
So in that same vein, if my show is greenlit and it's all about just travel and adventure and stuff like that, I've got 2 working titles. One of them is National Geographic,
yes.
but national spelled like Nash. And then the other one, if I'm like hunting things down, is National Treasure. But Nash is spelled like my name.
Both excellent puns.
Yeah. So we could take that same idea and then have like a national something for the podcast, like a national radio. But but NASH.
Yeah. You could do like a backronym with like NPR.
Yeah.
Like Nash something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
National Public Radio.
Well, yeah, that would be a good one.
I mean, you could do a more like you got
National Podcast Radio.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. But so we were encouraging people. So we don't yet have a comments section because we don't know where this is going to be posted. I'm going to say YouTube probably is at least one area.
As far for podcasts, I would assume, like iTunes,
right,
and like Google Play, for the podcast format. Now, if we do. Like, you can still definitely post it to YouTube.
Yeah, it's just the few podcasts that I know of are posted to YouTube, and it's just they have like a static image as their image, and then the podcast just runs over that.
Yeah.
But for when you're like working at your computer and you just bring up YouTube in the background and then like get back to filling out forms or whatever people do on computers. But yeah, so we need a format to where the listeners can like communicate with us, like feedback. So I was thinking, YouTube has a comment section, or things have comment section.
YouTube comments is.
That's what's so beautiful about it, right? So we were posing questions to the listeners, like if you have any suggestions for the name of the show or topics to cover, then reply in the comment section. And then Ben was like, well, we don't really have a comment section, right? Because we haven't posted on anything. We don't know where this is going. And I was like, okay, well, write your congressman. And don't put
does your blog have a
no,
comment?
By design, there's no comment section. Yeah, it's a completely one-way communication. I put content on there, and you can choose to absorb or not absorb, to consume or not consume. But
I know, like, some of them, like, based on it, a lot of them where they have kind of like a...
Yeah, I had one. I took it off.
Kind of a system.
I took it off of there.
Like Discus, Disqus.
Yeah. It's by design that there's no
That's probably smart.
Yes, I just don't want to hear any more about how my stories aren't real or true. And but I do want to hear about that if you post it in the comment section of this podcast. You can tell me all about that.
We want feedback on the podcast.
Yeah, I would be very excited to hear about all the logistical holes and impossibilities and the things that I've actually done. Like, wait a minute, your days don't match up. Like, I don't know, maybe I got the days wrong. It's been 10 years since this happened. I wrote it down at the time. Go check my blog, see if the days match up. If they still don't match up, I don't know what to tell you. Sorry. Maybe none of this happened.
I don't wear a watch.
Yeah, I don't own a watch. I've got some sort of a watch-like device with that I got at a Walmart several years ago because I was going to school in China, and I needed a timepiece, so I got the cheapest one I could. And then the bands broke off, so this dude in Alaska braided me a paracord bracelet, and then I just duct taped the watch face to the paracord bracelet.
You get that old Casio.
Yeah, that's what I got. Yeah, it's one of those that's like beep boop boop.
It'll last you a lifetime.
Yeah, it has really got the shit beat Evan, and it's going strong. So that's my my only timepiece. But yeah, so we just told them to, if they needed to respond to any comments or any questions that we posed, to write their congressman, their local congressman, completely out of context. Don't just write them with the answers to the question. So just write them like "national treasure!" exclamation point. Or like, how do you survive? Where does the food in the dumpster come from? And then like, just write your congressman. He'll know what it means. So, yes.
And I'm sure you'll get a very nice form letter response.
Yeah.
Saying that they appreciate you reaching out to them.
Yeah, and it'll be completely disregarding because, of course, the politicians don't read the things they get.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So this still, I encourage everyone to communicate with their local congressman. And that's gender neutral. It's just what they're referred to, congressman or woman. Congressman.
Congress representative.
Oh, there you go. Yes, your congressional representatives. Or maybe not even Congress. I guess just any sort of elected official, public elected official. Mayor. I don't think a mayor would be a congressman. He would just be a politician.
No, that's So that's
it's nothing to do with Congress. Your local level. Yeah, your local barkeep. However high up the chain of command you want to go.
Whoever you
Janitor?
feel has the most direct
influence
over you that isn't, say, your husband or wife.
Right, yeah. Yeah, you just keep taking it farther up the chain of command. You get it right up to the top. Right to the Postmaster General or whoever's currently running your life at the moment.
Postmaster General.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Contact your local Postmaster General.
They'll know what it means. Just respond with your answers out of context. So yeah, so if anybody listening has a good idea to finalize the name of the show, and then we'll just go back in and dub in the name of the show for the intro every episode.
So maybe if we get some listeners going here, maybe sometime down the road we can bring up some possible user contributions. And they could do an online poll.
Yeah.
So,
we could do giveaways.
Yeah.
Yeah, if someone has a better idea.
Has a really good idea.
Someone has a better idea than National Radio, spelled Nash.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't know about radio, but like national something. Do you guys have any ideas?
I've been just like calling in my head the Nash tapes.
The Nash tapes.
The Nash files.
Ah.
The Nash files are pretty good. But that sounds again like it would be all about my amazing, unbelievable stories.
It's also a name though that's very like unique and brandable though.
It is, which is why I love shoehorning it into stuff.
Because it's almost like a verb. So.
Yeah, oh yeah, you can really Nash stuff up.
Well, you can Nash your teeth.
Yeah, oh that is true. Yeah, that is true.
So yeah, it's a very punchy name.
Yeah, I like to shout it when I'm doing different things. On my official American MMA record, at one point in time, there was a typo. And it listed my first and last name as Nash because I just put Nash as one name,
so just
and
Nash.
they needed two fields, and so for a long time it was Nash. So like all my fight buddies were like Nash smash. So that was like what I would yell when I would do some move like WWE style. Just like Nash smash. That's my super move. When my meter gets full, I use it my whole bar. I use that move. So yeah, so we could just love shoehorning.
That's maybe the spinning pile driver.
That's right. Just shoehorn my name and stuff. So yeah, we could definitely brainstorm stuff like that. Yeah. Nash.
A conversation with Nash.
That's right. Yeah. too proper.
Yeah. That'd be if it was actually on NPR.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, we return now to a conversation with Nash. What are your thoughts on
Terry Gross or something?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the current South African conflict? Like, well, those two places are very far apart.
Well,
there's a good chance you meant to book someone else as your guest. I think.
I can't say I agree with it.
Yeah. Seems like South discrimination. It's reverse discrimination because nobody in the North is part of this war. So maybe get a North America war too. Be like
even things out.
And that is all from our contributor.
We should go to war with Canada.
But Canada's so great. I don't want to mess that up. Most of it. Alberta's real nice. If you get into the outer parts.
I was in Canada once.
Yeah. Were you running drugs?
No.
Were you running from drugs?
No. It's a family reunion.
Running to drugs.
But the only really interesting story I had with that was it was, I can't remember where in Canada it was. I was only like maybe 16, 17.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to go, but I didn't really have an option.
Yeah, fair enough.
But all I really remember is that at the park we were at, there was a giant mound of what looked like sand.
Yeah? Was it a burial mound?
No. Not that big.
Oh, okay.
Giant from a individual perspective.
Okay, all right.
So just sort of like a really big hill of like sand.
Okay.
Was
it
found
an ant pile?
Yes.
Yes.
It was an ant mound. Like you would see some ants scurrying around there, and I was there with a friend of mine, and as we were, stupid teenagers, we were like tossing like raw hot dogs in there, and like just watching the ants swarm on them and like devour it.
Right. Like a reverse volcano.
Yeah. Well, then my friend Kyle had the brilliant idea to like just kick his foot into it.
Oh no!
And he's wearing shorts,
right,
and like sandals, and he's like, at first he thought he was just gonna kind of toe in it a little bit,
yeah,
and just like we'll see what happens. Well, the whole thing just kind of like as soon as he did that, like a big chunk of it just kind of like collapsed on his foot,
right,
and yeah, whole leg was just like immediately covered in ants biting him, and then I laughed as I backed away.
Right, yeah, that's the natural thing to do.
And then he was like, running around
to laugh and run
trying
from
to get all the ants off of him. But yeah, that's the one thing I remember about going to Canada. The only other thing was that because we stayed at a like national park kind of thing that had like camper hookups.
Right, yeah.
And I just remember it smelled bad.
That might not be Canada's fault. That might be a big camper thing.
Yeah. Well, because basically it smelled like if you ever been to like a water treatment facility.
I have.
Yeah, that's what it kind of smelled
like.
like.
That's definitely a result of the campers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then again, that wasn't my opinion. Like, oh, all of Canada stinks. It's just kind of like, oh, this one little part smells.
I do love Canada. One time, quick anecdote. I took a train from Chicago to Portland, Oregon, which, if you don't know, lovely listeners, is very far apart. Those two places are very far apart. So far apart. And the train people were like, hey, would you like a bed or a seat large enough for a human being? Or like a room? And I was like, no, because all of those things cost money. I will just have the regular small child's bus seat, please, for a 3-day train ride. And so I got that, and it was miserable. Like, I'm not a tall guy. I'm 5'9", 178 centimeters, 177, 178 centimeters. Not a tall guy, and my knees were like jammed straight up into the seat in front of me. Just miserable. Like, not enough room for my ample butt. It was.
There's another tree though. I've never traveled long distances like that.
Right.
Through train, but can't you like get up and move around? Though,
right. You can get up and walk the aisle, but you can't like go to the swanky parts of the train without prior
buying a ticket for it.
Right. Yeah, they have bouncers that are very difficult to get by because there's only the one entryway.
Right.
And the windows don't even open big enough to let me scurry out on the outside of the train and then shimmy along the side and sneak in down further in the nicer parts of the car.
Because if they did, you would totally try that.
I would have tried to have, like, just peeked in and seen if there's, like, a lovely young lady who has, like, a single cabin and just been like, hey, I'm on the outside of this train. Can you let me in? We can talk and maybe I'll sleep in your bed. That's fine. So you've got a lot of time to kill on this train. So I was on this train, and the first day, I was like, this will be fine. This is fine. And then that's what I was thinking about the ticket. And then about 24 hours later, I was like, this was a tactical error. This was another classic case of me completely underestimating how awful this was going to be, and just everything hurt because I'd been sitting down. I can't even sit in a regular chair for too long without hurting. Like, I've got to move, and I was just like, this was a huge mistake. And then, halfway through the second day, this 18-year-old guy got on, and he'd just been discharged from like the Navy. Honorably discharged because they found out he had something wrong with his foot. So they were like, hey, even though you've only been in the Navy for a little less than a year, we have to kick you out. But you signed a contract that said you'd be in for 4 years, and you're leaving honorably, so we have to give you all your money now. So they just gave him all his money, this 18-year-old, with like 4 years worth of military money, all of a sudden. And so he was taking this train from wherever we picked him up to like Portland, Oregon. And so he was like, hey, I've got infinite money, so I'm just going to buy everyone everything. So he brought this boombox on, and then he like got the booze car to just stock the train with a nonstop supply of booze. So then the train turned into a party train. So it's just like, and everyone's like dancing in the aisles and just like drinking and everything on this kid's dime, and he doesn't care because he's got all the money.
Right.
As far as he's concerned.
As far as he's concerned, he's like, oh, I got like 150 grand. I'm rich. I'm set for life.
Yeah, exactly. So he's just like everything for everyone, and people are like making out in the seats and stuff. Just want to stress, this isn't like some kind of like fancy train where there's like curtains.
This is just like
stuff.
an Amtrak.
This is just the cheapest, shittiest train. We're all just like, yeah, just partying, and like people are making out. Just it's this complete like balls to the wall nonsense. And I was like, this is all right, everything's fine. And then we were passing through one of the Dakotas, and there was a huge flood. And as far as I can tell, that Dakota sank into the earth. Like I think it was North Dakota for some reason. There was this gigantic flood. It just was reclaimed by the earth, and in its place was a huge smoldering water-filled crater. And the train was like, hey, we've got to do an emergency detour onto tracks that we've never used before. So we're just going to have to go around all of the Dakotas, and then we'll update you whenever we figure out what's going on. So I was like, well, I'm going to doze off for a second. So I doze off, and I wake up, and I'm looking out the window, and I'm like, man, there's a lot of mountains. Like, way more mountains than there should be for where we should be. I'm like, where are we? And I'm like, this is just too many pine trees here. I'm looking around, I'm like, there's a lot of snow.
So they went north. All right.
I was like,
you
yeah,
got through Canada.
Yeah, I was like, there's a lot of snow for like May or June. And I'm just looking around, I'm like, this...
So I think, like, if you went south, it would be like, what, like Wyoming?
Yeah, I was like, there's a lot of snow for May and June, a lot of mountains and pine trees, and I was like, no way. And then I look over, sure enough, there's a big flag flying a bright red maple leaf.
Moose.
Yeah, and I was just like, we are in Canada, which is great because I love Canada, but I was like, don't they have to notify you if you're crossing the border? Because, like, most people didn't have documentation.
Right.
And they were like, hey, we have to stop at this station real fast. If people need to use the bathroom or whatever, you can get off and use the bathroom. But we're leaving in 10 minutes, and also we're in Canada.
So if you get stuck here, good luck.
Right.
You don't have a passport.
So I got off. There was a huge line for the bathroom, and I was like, well, I'm not chancing this. So I just wandered off into the pine forest and took a pee, went back to the train and got on. And then we pulled away, and as I'm looking out the window, there was this chick coming out of the bathroom who was supposed to be on the train, and all her luggage is on the train, and now she's in Canada with no ID or identification or luggage or stuff, probably money. So I don't know what happened to her. She's probably dead.
But I'm sure she found some nice Canadians.
Yeah, everything worked out.
The US
we were nowhere close to anything. It was like an outpost train station. And so, yeah, my mind is delighted at the possibilities of things that could have happened to her. I'm like, well, obviously, she was captured and brought into the Weapon X program. Because that's the only thing that would be going on there.
Yeah.
Or she was eaten by moose. Like, there's no middle ground. It's only those two things. She's either one with nature or in top secret Canadian Special Forces mutant training program or dead.
Yeah.
That's
Those
it.
are the only
3
options.
choices. Yeah, and then eventually we went up and around and back down, and then we made it to Portland, Oregon, where I had more adventures. But, so, the moral of that story is maybe splurge on the extra train stuff, or don't, because it all worked out for me, because that guy got on and bought us all a huge party for 2 days, and then someone got lost in Canada. It's not a party till someone gets lost in another country and abandoned.
There you go.
So that's how you know it's a real party, but yeah. I don't know why. Oh yeah, we were talking about Canada. That was one time I took a train to Canada on accident. The end.
I like that story. It's not a party until someone gets abandoned in a foreign country.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. I actually have quite a few stories about that. Come to think of it. But yeah, so I guess that's a good time to wrap up. Unless you got anything else to add.
Yeah, I think it's a good cutoff point.
That's a good cutoff point. All right, so this is Nash
signing off.
Signing off. Yeah, aren't you gonna sign off too, though? All of us?
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, this is Aaron signing off as well.
Yeah, all right. And Ben's giving us the nod. He's here too. And Nash out. Nash. Whoa! You sound like if Seth Rogen was a giant bear, like a CG bear, and then they just based up his voice just a little bit more.
Yeah, I think people say that a lot. I sound like Seth Rogen.
Yeah, like a Seth Rogen bear, cartoon bear.
I don't really laugh the same though.
Yeah, he's got a weird, goofy laugh.